So I just saw that Charlie Kirk was shot and pronounced dead after one of his I guess appearances on a Utah campus. Yeah, yep. Charlie Kirk is been pronounced dead. Um, so what do we make of this? I mean, he had clearly some things to say that were going to be, I think, inflammatory. Um, but man, is violence the answer? Is violence the answer? And on either side of the coin, is violence the answer? Because I guess just in my thought is if you wouldn't want somebody um, who you would favor in a political way shot, should you want that for somebody who opposes you? Um, that's that's not what we should be basing our decision making on, and it goes to show how much we have a problem in this country. And I'm not even going to say it's the guns. I'm going to say it's the people wielding guns, people with access to guns. We have a lot of mental, behavioral problems that go undiagnosed, unchecked, and untreated. And that's what this comes to. Because we shouldn't find that shooting a man is the answer. We shouldn't find that shooting somebody is the answer. And people will justify it to say he's, I don't know, you can label it a thousand different things, call him a fascist or ultra conservative or Nazi or whatever. But in this country, in this society, people have a Second Amendment right to free speech. And that's a tough thing to hear. He's one of the most audacious and inspiring people to come out of the generation. We disagreed a lot, but that's what was his point. The American philosophy: preaching, understand, and bridging worlds through debate, not hate. Yeah, and I think a lot of times to that point, Linja, and I don't know a whole lot about the man, but I still don't believe that shooting somebody is the answer, and uh, that's a bit of a tragedy because um, while people may not agree, but that should never be the answer. I would hate to disagree with somebody and be shot for my thoughts, or be shot because I didn't agree with whatever we think it is. No, hell no, it's not the answer. I agree completely. Um, it didn't better us when Dr. King was shot. It didn't better us when Malcolm X was shot. It didn't better us when Harvey Milk was shot. It didn't better us in a lot of places where violence was able to take place. Either the Kennedy brothers didn't better us. What it did is it told the next wave of people that, oh, this is how you silence somebody. Somebody may go down for it, but the damage is already done, and that's a damage to us all. That's a damage to our society, because this is what the world is looking at. This is what other people see. This is what a lot of us know our own society to be, with living within it. Violence is the answer. If you don't agree, to some extent, violence is the answer, or just some forms of abuse. We don't have to necessarily get to the point of taking lethal action against somebody, but what do? We troll them, we abuse them, we bully, harass, cancel, try to cancel. All those things, all of those answers do not stem from effective communication, nor does it stem from any sort of control over one's emotions. And that's a sad place to be. It's a dangerous place to be, because Charlie Kirk is just one of many people that will be shot today in this country. And it's not because he was preaching extremisms or whatever else somebody might want to say. Because then what do you say about the person who got shot in traffic because they cut somebody off? What do you say about somebody who got shot because they were, having their car towed, and they shot the tow truck driver? Like, that's the problem. The problem is it's larger than the people being shot for whatever reason. It's the message that somehow it's a viable plan of action, course of action, and it's a sad place to be when we look at things like that. So what are our answers? What are our answers? And the thing about it is, right as he was shot, the topic was, somebody had asked him how many trans shooters, mass shooters, have been in, I don't know, the last 10 years. He said too many, and then the crowd cheered. And then the next question had something to do about how many American mass shooters, and he asked, does that include gang members? And the video that I saw, that's where it stopped, because they weren't going to show him being actually shot. So I'm guessing that that's where it cut off. And that's kind of, there's an irony to that when you're talking about shootings or mass shootings and things like that, and then you are shot while speaking to that. I've seen some of his work, and again, like it or not, man had a right to his speech. I can't classify that as hate speech. Otherwise, I don't think his platform would have been as big. But some people will say it was a form of dog whistling and there was hate underlined into it. But it wasn't. That's a gray area, and we weren't getting into him going into these places saying, let's do away with all one type of people, or let's only uphold all one type of people, or nor was he yelling fire to put other people in danger. I mean, like it or not, that's the thing. We like our rights until somebody else uses the same ones and we don't agree with it. And that's not a good place to be. That's a very unhealthy place to be in any sort of free society. And for that, are we really free when it comes to this? And I don't know if he has a wife and children, but there are survivors to this that have to now face or deal with what's going to be said about this man. And it's just a sad place to be. It speaks volumes towards everybody. He taught young people what rights they have through experience and how to exercise them freely with dignity. He cared about people who wanted him dead. He does have a wife and family. See, that's unfortunate. And a lot of people, I guess, maybe, was it the message or was it the messenger? Did we feel like, as I say we as a collective society, say, because we've gotten very aggressive when we come to labeling other people. So do we, how dare this, I guess, is it cis white male get to tell other people, about these things, what an entitled place you're coming from? I don't know. I haven't heard too many of the pushbacks against him, outside of like just those presentations where he would debate people in real time. But I mean, they were having their free speech too when they were asking. It's both. Lots of people found him hateful for his anti-abortion, anti-trans, pro-Trump opinions. Possibly. I mean, but again, if he's entitled to his speech, his free speech, and then you have people debating in real time. Clearly, there's two sides that don't agree. Do we just shoot one side? I mean, I don't know. This is puzzling to me, and this sends a bad message as to how to, again, a continuing bad message in the realm of politics, especially. If you don't agree with somebody, at some point, you can either destroy them with a bullet, or you can just try to destroy their character. We've seen that a lot too, where, okay, maybe I can't get to you because you're squeaky clean, so there's no scandal. There's nothing that we can do to try to drag you down in the court of public opinion or legally kind of strip you of rights. So we strip you of your life. That's not how to go about that. Um, and maybe I'm speaking something that's not a very popular sentiment. Maybe somebody's going to hop on and say he deserved it because of the things that Lynn just pointed out, that he had anti-abortion or anti-trans or pro-Trump opinions. So um, it is snazzy. It is sadly where we are now. And is is there any solution to get away from that? I mean, what are we doing? Because some of us are stuck in this society that we want better for everybody, and we don't want to be in this infighting, and we don't want to be caught in this crossfire. So what can we do? What are our options, besides like move? What are our options? There was a young and up and coming rap artist who posted an image of himself visiting an ice cream shop near my state. Within a few minutes, a local seen it and shot him, then took his chain. Wow. Wow. Are we too accessible? Is there too much visibility when it comes to these things that you would go out and just dare people to refute what you're saying on your views? I mean, I never heard him say anything as far as calling people out of their names. I never heard him say, uh, "We, get this MF or so and so." I never heard any of that. But again, we get to that point. Why do we think that that's an acceptable method? Sorry, guys. It says my connection is unstable. So I'm not sure if you guys are seeing something different, but I don't know. It was a question that was on my mind, and I wanted to jump on. So I'm glad that I have a couple people, friends of mine, that have their thoughts and opinions on it as well, because that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. These are thoughts, opinions. It comes from some experiences as well. But right, you know, somebody put themselves out there and with the chain and got shot for it. I mean, that's crazy. That is an absolute shame that it's over something as simple as that, whether it's an opinion or whether it's a piece of jewelry. Nobody should be shot over things like that. I mean, guns, guns are a problem in the hands of the wrong people. No different than if somebody ran Charlie Kirk over with a car, just plowed it through the group, or ran that young man over at the ice cream shop. It's the mentality of people. It's what lurks in the hearts of men or women and children, that are willing to put these acts out on other people. And again, anytime like I'll speak to this where it's equal across the board, I generally get called out and I get called a sellout or I get called, one thing or another. And well, there you have it. There you have it. The inability to articulate a rational thought as to why what I'm saying about equality for everybody is wrong. Just because we disagree with somebody doesn't mean that shooting them is the answer. That should have never been the answer. And we live in a day and age and time where you have the option, turn things off, turn away from it. We've always had that option. You don't have to listen to what you don't enjoy or what you don't agree with. But if you stay, it's called I believe it was called the Howard Stern effect, where he had more people who hated him listening to his show because they wanted to see what was next, waiting to be set off or triggered. That's a kind of a sick mentality. That's kind of a sick thought, to like want to wait to have somebody upset your emotional balance to the point that you are willing to sit and listen through and sift through everything that they have to say. Linja says he used his wealth to support vulnerable populations like the homeless and formerly incarcerated. He offered housing, mental health services, and education on family, substance abuse, etc. I can't even name it all. He just gave it all back. I do remember him having a discussion. I believe it was with a black male who was kind of riding down on him, kind of calling him the typical. And he said the same. He said, I have a business that's employing, people of color in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. He said, like, what are you doing to help? And there's some validity to that. We don't always know what people are always doing. And I don't think that you always have to lead with all of your accomplishments. Sometimes those anonymous sort of things are what helps. Give me just a sec. This is my brother. He might have something to say. Yo, I got you on live.
How you doing that?
Because I was already on live. I was talking about Charlie Kirk getting shot. Did you see that?
Who?
Charlie Kirk.
Who's that?
He's kind of like a political figure. You'll see him like on a lot of the clips. He goes out and he'll like debate people on anti-trans, anti-abortion sort of things, and it's like one of those prove me wrong sort of things. So people get really triggered at him, and literally today somebody triggered at him, and he died getting shot in Utah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and so my question is this the answer? Is violence the answer?
I mean, now that it's in sports where little kids are being, abused by grown adults, it seems to be.
Yeah,
you got the lady with the baseball, and then the guy, billionaire, yanking the hat from the kid. Like, come on, man, what are people doing?
Yeah, we seem to see far too much violence, and then we're having to have these talks. Whether you agree with the Charlie Kirk or not, shooting him's not the answer. And you learn more. I've found that you learn more by sitting down with your opposition
and discussing. Absolutely
right. How can I not necessarily how can I start to think like you, but how can I understand where your thought process comes from? Where does that stem from? And
sure.
You know how I know. It's like, guys, this is my brother Will, by the way, on the line. And you know how I know, like a lot of times, especially if you aren't in the demographic that like a Charlie Kirk is, you get labeled a sellout for even just insinuating that equality should be part of the process for everybody. His Second Amendment rights don't supersede anybody else's. And you having a whole career behind fighting for people's rights, it's definitely one of those things. It's got to be tragic that this is what so many people go lay their lives out, for, and just to have somebody else's rights taken away and their life.
Right, over a voice that, you know what I'm saying? It's not like someone, like he violated someone or did something to someone's child. He's just talking.
Correct. Correct.
To make your demise over a conversation is ridiculous.
Yeah. And to see, I dare say, like, I don't even want to see the amount of people who would cheer it. Like, I mean, we saw the same with Kevin Samuels. When Kevin Samuels passed, people were celebrating his death because of the way you think,
the words. The words. He never did physically anything to anyone, but he just gave his opinion on how people could live better.
Yeah, indeed.
To be celebrated over that is ridiculous.
Yeah. Linja Ninja in South Carolina asked if we would ever consider doing a live talk show.
We do it all the time. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. There's some things I needed to run by you. That trip is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we need to discuss that. So.
Okay, I'll hit you back when I'm done here.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Talking.
All right, love you.
All right,
later.
Bye.
Yeah, Linda, we've done a couple lives. There's probably some lives on here called Real Talk. And so, yeah, we've done those. But let me run back and see what I saw. Snazzy, it popped up. I think we're all living in a degenerating culture in the United States. There's a similar atmosphere in the pre-Soviet Russia. Yes. Yep. Calisthenics Life NYC, thank you so much for dropping in. We're just having this conversation on the death of Charlie Kirk, and that is that's definitely it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. We shouldn't have people cut down regardless if they are high priority or not high priority, but high profile figures or not. But we see too much of that, way too much of that. People need to read more. Yes. Is that Dostoevsky? I think I pronounced that wrong, but Linda says he debated college educators and educated folks in such a way it was embarrassing for institutions while having had no college experience himself. He showed the world a degree isn't what defines smart. Absolutely, absolutely. What higher education or any level of education shows that you've retained and can regurgitate a set curriculum for a certain amount of time, and that's not going to necessarily make you smart. It shows that you can complete a certain level of curriculum over a certain amount of time, and that's fine as well. But yes, being smart, self-education, I've talked to that many times. There's many videos on this channel where I've talked about self-education, and there's a lot of ways that you should be able to do that for yourself. Yes, Lynn, we will definitely do some more. Tara says, "What's happening? Is this really live?" This really is live, Tara. Snazzy is the one who wrote Lolita. I do not think so. If so, I have not read that one. Is he the one who wrote Lolita? Okay. Yeah, Tara, we're live. We were just talking about the death, the slaying of Charlie Kirk, who was shot on a Utah campus at one of his. I can't call them rallies. I'm just going to call it like an appearance, where he goes in and has his big tent and debates people for any all comers. I think that's a pretty bold platform to go on, but it really does speak to having convictions about your beliefs and having some proof to back things up. Otherwise, I don't think that people would be as upset if they didn't have the possibility to refute what he's saying. So clearly, he studied. He studied what he wanted to speak to, and I mean, his rise was pretty meteoric because I can remember. It seems like there were videos of him just at like a folding card table, like out in like public parks or something, and now he's like on college campuses. Maybe I have that wrong, but I could have sworn that I'd seen that before. I know this is really somber topic, but your arms are popping right now, so I really didn't catch anything except Charlie. You're crazy, and I have a white shirt on. There we go. He wrote The Underground Man, may have the wrong title, Crime and Punishment, and The Brothers Kalamazoo. Okay. Plenty of good reading. Fair. Okay, Snazzy had a typo there. Kalamazoo. All right. Yeah, guys from Michigan. Yeah, those guys from Michigan. The guys, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, to me, it's a shut. I asked a simple question. I asked almost like a layup. Is violence the answer? And across the board, I would think that the answer should be no. I don't think there should be a caveat like yes because he was anti this or that. I mean, because if that's the case, I mean, where do we stop? Where do we stop shooting people for being against something? Isn't that our right? I mean, we live in a society and somebody took not only his right to choose, but his life. Either everyone has free speech or no one does. Exactly. Exactly. It's kind of like the Dr. King saying, "An injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere." So even though I know not every place in the world has, the right to the same free speech that we do, but just in this society, it speaks to like I said at the top, it speaks to mental health. We have a mental health crisis in our country, and it largely goes untreated and undiagnosed. And I don't even want to say unpunished, but there are things that early on we definitely need to get ahead of. And if we don't get ahead of it, things like this are going to be an acceptable part of society. And I think that, I mean, I think we're already too late. I think that it is, and that's why it happens so much. But what do we do? Because nobody wants to. The gun laws are such a hot topic, and there's so much money that's generated out of gun sales and ammunition and things like that, things around that, that nobody wants to take that one on. Nobody wants to take that one on. And I don't know if that's the answer. I don't think that it necessarily is. But what I do think is that we have to like look at I drive a car. I don't have a gun, but I drive a car. But if somebody is driving like a complete jerk and needed their license taken away, I would say take their license away. And I think that's where some of the gun owners need to realize, like, this isn't about you. This is about people who can't can't responsibly own a firearm. And that's where that goes to for me. Who said I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend with my life your right to say it. Exactly, exactly. Um, I don't, I haven't heard everything the man had to say, but some of it I was like, no, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't necessarily agree with all of it, but I don't want somebody censoring me either. And so I want to be able to say what I want to say. Now, it may not be as inflammatory or political on the grand scale that what Charlie Kirk was speaking to, but that's not the point. You should be able to say either I like ice cream or I'm against abortion or for abortion and I hate ice cream. Like whatever it is, you should be able to have those rights and cover that gamut. Let's see. Linda says at this point we need legal guns to protect ourselves against the illegal ones as a nation. It feels though like I personally don't own one or promote it. It's just more dangerous without them now. Yeah, yeah. How does that work? Is it a case of more guns stop guns, or or is there just an excessive more access to guns for people who who won't use them correctly. And the sad part is it's not even just like the guy with a ski mask on is the bad guy with the gun. Sometimes it's the person who works two jobs and has kids and is just fed up, and then it becomes their escape. It becomes that breaking point that it's not like they were a bad person, they weren't a criminal, they didn't grow up dealing drugs or anything else. Like that's why I think it boils back down to a mental health issue in a lot of ways. One of my brothers has mental health issues, and he was going to buy a lot of guns like 10 years ago. I wrote a letter to the ATF telling them he shouldn't be allowed a gun license. Yep, I darn sure have a sign misinforming would-be intruders that I have a gun. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Make them think twice. Absolutely, absolutely. I like that. I like that, and you know, yeah, not too many people are going to take that chance. Ah, she's bluffing. Really? You really want to find out when the house next door may not have that sign? So I applaud that. Make them think twice. Even if you can just get a hold of a couple dead or old video cameras and just post it outside of your house. Make it look like you got cameras. Make it look like you got like you got the whole shebang going on to deter. But that's the problem is we don't know what bad guys are. You got ADT and a dope sign. Then there's Snazzy with his sword collection and my two dogs. That's all you need. Barking dogs are probably going to back down. I'd like to know like what the criminal like mind thinks. There has to be like some sort of uh, research that was done on criminals that like would break into houses that said if you heard a barking dog, how many times out of 10 did you just move on to the next house? Me, I'm a freezer. I'll look like a cave woman in an exhibit. There you go. There's got to be research on that in the mind of a criminal. Like, what made you pick that one place? Because there's always that one you hear about where people are like, well, somebody hasn't broken into a house that they don't know what's in it. I don't know if that's necessarily always true. I think there's probably a lot of cases where, yeah, somebody came over. I don't know. You had a house party and it was a friend of a friend of a friend, and they saw your stuff or case in it. But I don't know how many times that's actually true. Maybe it's true, but I'd like to know how many people are deterred by a gun sign, barking dogs. Um, I have like the security gate on my front doors, those big old swinging, locking gate doors. So, I mean, what deters a criminal? Exactly. Don't make it easy on them. I've seen a lot of criminals admit so much of it's just opportunity. Yeah, snatch and grab. Snatch and grab. What can I grab right in this moment? And is there anybody else around? Like, what time of day is it? Like, what are my odds of getting away with this? And I'm sure the more they've stolen, the better they can calculate it. It's no different than probably being like a leopard or some high apex, hunting animal where it's like it knows its chances. Um, so yes, definitely don't make it easy on them. And it's a whole thing. It's bigger than Charlie Kirk. It just happens to be that we're going to have this topic talked about a lot more now because of a Charlie Kirk losing his life through gun violence. And unfortunately, to your point, that guy that was shot at the ice cream shop, showing his necklace off, we're going to dismiss that as just, another dumb rapper. And he was probably a dealer and things like that. And so they kind of had it coming. And that's the other part we have to look at is a shooting is a shooting is a shooting. That it's not about like one group or another, especially if the person wasn't doing anything. It sounds like the man was enjoying a cone on a warm summer day and gets shot for it. That's not how to live or die. Tara says, I had a troll on TikTok. He was coming to my house. He will be here in 5 hours. I was like, what are you going to do? Steal my used couch? He will be here in 5 hours. Yeah, definitely be looking out the windows in 5 hours. Charlie was like an annoying uncle who was always pushing his ideology on me, but I respected and loved him. He was fam. Yeah, that's definitely a point to be made. Like, was he was he doing anything other than just like really asking people to think about certain things? And because he was injecting his opinion in it, isn't that what we all do? But I think because he had a larger platform, I do think that a lot of it had to do with the messenger as well as the message. That how dare you entitled people, have something to say. And that seemed like that was a sticking point for a lot of people that were attacking his message. So I don't condone it in one way or the other. Yeah, it's not the way for us to, in what's said to be the greatest society, in the world, which I don't believe is true either. But that's a different context, because everybody's going to have an opinion on what they feel is a greater society. What is it? Do you want technology and modern amenities, or do you want to have like a more primal lifestyle, but you don't have these problems? So, what do we determine? I think that's all individuals speaking to what they would like. But I don't know if we can just in one metric say that this is greater than another. Our society, and with the rate of violence, I mean, just throw in all of it: the rate of violence, obesity, social media addiction, big pharma addiction, recreational addiction. There's a lot of things that are just really in need of some fixing here. Snazzy and I have been trying for years to have children. No luck yet. I always said I was pro-abortion, though. Charlie made me, and I don't know. Maybe I'm profile now. I don't know. Maybe not. He did make people think, though. He left an impact. Yep. And I hope it's not forgotten, because these are still topics. That's the thing. These are still topics that people have been arguing long before he came onto the scene, and long after has now left the scene. These are still going to be topics, and so at some point there has to be some form of resolution, some form of let's get to the bottom of this, some form of let's stop with this, picking sides, and I mean, true bipartisanship, if there's any such thing. But I don't know, maybe we need to start having anonymous talks, anonymous votes, where some of these people in Congress and have the ability to make these laws, maybe they're just holding on to it because they are put in a position to be expected to hold on to certain values or uphold certain laws. But maybe without that being the case, maybe without people having to be in plain sight and fear for their lives, because this is going to do that now. There's going to fear for there's going to have other people fearing that, am I next? And it doesn't have to be just, again, a high profile person. It can be anybody. Like, what if you're just speaking at a rally and that's what happens? Yeah, me mutter, sending text messages. All right. Well, this is just a quick question. I don't have a whole lot to impart on that. I think that it's a pretty straightforward and simple sort of thing, that violence is definitely not the answer. Um, but we have a lot of work to do when it comes to addiction, mental health, and just health in general in our society. And hopefully, at a point like that, when people can be taught better, shown better how, better living, and not being overly stimulated and undertreated and undereducated, then these are things that can somehow, I don't know, correct themselves. And I guess they're not going to correct themselves. It's going to take an effort, but we are we're in a really bad place when stuff like this is the answer. In a really bad place. So, security guard at my work is in that boat. He's afraid of being shot now. Yeah, for sure. I can completely see why. Um, and yeah, being security, you are the most likely person to be shot or attacked because you represent authority. You represent what can stop somebody from doing what they are trying to do, as far as perpetrating something onto other people. So yes, you are an immediate target. You're an immediate target. So, man, that's tough, and I feel for that man, because it's how you're trying to work. This is how you're trying to pay your bills, feed your family, and that's just not a good way to be, or a good place to be. And I would dare say anybody with a uniform on is probably first and foremost. So, um, I don't know, guys. I appreciate you checking in. It's kind of a just off the cuff topic because it just popped up. I just got home and just wanted to take a look at something before I got ready for the live on Impact Athletics Association in about 1 hour. So it popped up, and I was like, let me just pop on, speak to it real quick, and then pop back off. So that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts, because that's how we're gonna get to some answers. Maybe not on a legislative Capitol Hill sort of basis, but to at least understand the people in our circles, the people that we call friends. We may not agree on everything, and we're not supposed to, but we can at least take a page from what we say that the politicians should do, and we can have our own conversations. And I've been grateful to have conversations and understand where people are coming from, so I have a better understanding of me in their presence, and vice versa. So, but as always, guys, I'd love to hear your ace up the sleeve, your advice, your comment, your experience on something like this. So, I've gotten a lot of good feedback here in the chat, so I appreciate you guys for doing that. And as always, I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity. All right, guys, we will see you. Good to talk to you all, Tara, for sure. Thank you so much, guys, and we will see you soon. Wow. Maybe we'll start doing more lives over here. But I appreciate you guys popping up. That was a pleasant surprise indeed.